When looking at the gaming business as a whole, it's quite impressive to see just how many genres and different types of video games are out there. Everything from your standard shooters to puzzle games to strategies, all different types which are enjoyed by their respective fan bases throughout the whole industry. It's kind of difficult to put your finger on what all of these genres have in common. I mean, if they're all successful, there's gotta be something, some characteristic that they share. Well, some would argue that the one and the most important thing all good games should have in common is that they should be immersive. They should let themselves immerse the player into that world and into their mechanics. And when immersion is on discussion, I can't think of many better games than the beautifully crafted Metro series. Now, if you haven't played them, let me just quickly catch you up. The Metro is a series of currently 2 games, with the third one in development, being developed by 4A Games, which take place in post-apocalyptic Moscow, where the surface is no longer inhabitable due to radiation and all sorts of stuff with aliens, and don't even worry about it. So the people were forced to move and start living down in the metro stations below, where the air is still somewhat breathable and they can survive. Now, these 2 games waste absolutely no time as soon as you gain controls to immerse you into this heavy and somewhat depressing world with both the cutscenes, the audio, the visuals, and the mechanics. So, at some point you kind of start to wonder, how do they do it? What creative choices or implementations did they choose to be so successful in this area? Well, today I'm going to look at exactly how Metro creates its immersive world. Now, a quick disclaimer before the video begins: all of what I'm going to be saying are going to be my opinions and my opinions alone. I was not one of the team members who worked on the Metro games, so ultimately we will probably never know. But I am a big fan of this series, and whenever I get a chance to talk some praise about it, I will take it. So just sit back, grab some popcorn, and let's get right into it. Now, in order to help structurize this video, I will divide it into 2 major categories. I'll be talking about the visuals and, of course, the gameplay and mechanics. So without any further ado, let's just start right from the top. Now, we all know that saying, don't judge a book by its cover, and it is very much true. Visuals don't make games alone. A game can be as pretty as humanly possible, but if the gameplay sucks, the game is not going to be good, and that works the other way around as well. If the gameplay is great, the visuals don't necessarily have to be so good for the game to still be enjoyable, right? Now, it seems that nowadays a lot of studios are trying to strive towards realism in games, you know, with graphic showcases at E3 of games like Assassin's Creed or Battlefront. You know, as much as these games might not be realistic setting-wise, they look freaking beautiful. But it's not always the realistic graphics that get the job done. Just take a look at a game like Cuphead, for example, one that is about as far from realism as you could get graphics-wise, and yet is such a wonderful experience. It catches your eye, it looks great, and the visuals fully support what the game is meant to be. So what's the most important thing about visuals? Well, I would argue that it's actually 2 things. Number 1, it should support the type of gameplay you desire from your game, and number 2, probably more important, it's consistency. Even if you create the best graphics setup to your wonderful game, if the graphics are not consistent, you're not gonna get anywhere with it, because the immersion is gonna break as soon as the first inconsistency occurs. So how does Metro fit into this? Well, I have to admit that I've played many first-person shooters over the years, many that try to be atmospheric, and rarely do you see a world so wonderfully and detailedly crafted as the one in Metro. No detail is too small, from the way cobwebs move around and how you get dirt and small spectacles of water onto your gas masks as you plummet through the dangerous surface areas, the way dust falls off the ceiling onto your gun and you sometimes have to wipe it off, just small animations like that. It is the consistency of how well the game world is crafted, from the visuals alone to the textures to the audio design and lighting within the tunnels, that allows you to let go and fully immerse yourself in this without any major breaks. Let's probably not talk about the striptease scene, because that is kind of, yeah, okay. But like we already established, visuals alone cannot cut it. The games might look great, they might put all the attention to detail when it comes to visuals and aesthetics, but none of that would work if the game doesn't play good and if the mechanics don't support the rest of the game, which is something I always say in the MDA model. Your mechanics should be the very bottom, the very core of what makes a game, and the thing that supports everything else surrounding it, including the visuals and including the dynamics. If you took your time and broke Metro into the MDA diagram, separating the dynamics, the mechanics, and aesthetics, the most important things you would probably end up is some form of survival horror with elements of exploration and resource gathering. Now, I said before that if game's mechanics support the dynamics, chances are the gameplay is gonna feel pretty good in most cases. Now try thinking back to what mechanics Metro puts down on the table. Survival horror, well, you get creepy monsters attacking you, limited health supply, very limited ammo supply for many guns, limited air supply even on the surface, something very rarely seen in video games. It is absolutely obvious that they're not shying away from fully immersing you into the survival horror, not giving you the resources and not giving you the safe ground and leverage you would often get in games like this that would ruin the atmosphere. Furthermore, this perfectly flows into exploration. You are trying to find those resources. You need those extra 5 shotgun shells to get through the next segment. You're gonna have to scour this entire abandoned hotel and just hope that one of the dead bodies might just have the ammo on him that you need. The gameplay in Metro beautifully flows into its dynamics, fully supporting the idea of you being this insignificant person or soldier in this huge hostile surface world where mostly everything wants you dead, and the things that don't want you dead yet will probably want you dead eventually. It goes down to as small of a detail as when you get mud on your gas mask, you get a button prompt to wipe it off. It's something so small, such a tiny insignificant detail that could have easily been left out, and yet every time when you emerge out of that difficult combat, your character breathing heavily, your gas mask fogging up from the inside from his rapid breath, and the blood and mud is covering your windshield, let's call it, you get to wipe it off, quickly reload those last bullets that you have, and press on through the dangerous swamps. There are not really many experiences like that, and if you are someone that looks for deep immersive worlds in their games, I don't think there are many better things than this. Alright, so let's quickly recap. What does Metro do to create immersion? Well, the first half of it are the visuals. Yes, alone they wouldn't make a great game, but they are definitely important when supporting already solid gameplay. The visuals of Metro are gritty, dark, beautifully detailed, and most importantly consistent in every aspect. And by visuals, I of course don't just mean the models and textures, I'm talking lighting, I'm talking audio, and all those small details that you might overlook when playing, but if you actually take some time to stop, look at some of the animations and the surroundings around you, you can definitely appreciate how much work has been put into this game. The second part is of course the gameplay and its mechanics. By looking at the MDA model of this game, the mechanics fully support the dynamics of survival horror and exploration, which fits so well with the beautifully designed visuals that I mentioned in point 1. The attention to detail is present here as in everything, with details such as wiping off your gas masks or cobwebs burning away when you pull out your lighter. It is a beautiful synergy between the visuals and the gameplay that eventually flows into the word we now call immersion, and the thing that many would argue is one of, if not the most important aspect of video gaming. But anyways, that is all I had to say in the video. What do you think of the Metro series? If it wasn't very obvious from the video, which I think it was, I personally am a big fan. However, I am by no means saying that these are the perfect first-person shooter games and there have never been any better. What I am saying is that in the world of first-person shooters where many would go for giant space explosions or spaceships and whatnot, it is often underappreciated just how much of an immersive world you can craft by simply slowing down, putting a lot of attention into your surroundings, into the lighting, into the graphics, and into the gameplay itself. If you guys agreed or disagreed with anything that I said, please make sure to leave that down in the comments. Also, if you have any suggestions on how I could potentially improve these videos or what games I should take a look at next, make sure to leave that down there as well. If you enjoy this type of video, I might suggest you check out my game design playlist, where I talk about many other games, what I think they did right, and what could maybe potentially be improved. I wish you all a bit of rest off this cloudy day, and I'm gonna see you all in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.